Hello, this is Kara Phelps with QSR Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to this webinar titled Quicker Service Restaurants, How to Use Advanced Automation to Make Fast Food Faster. Quick service restaurants are changing to meet the needs of their customers. Supply chain delays and labor shortages have made it hard for them to keep up with demand, so they are starting to turn towards automation tools to go from quick to quicker. New technology like AI ordering and menu suggestions, robotic food prep and delivery, and cloud-based POS systems are helping quick service restaurants raise their average ticket price and increase same-store sales by over 30%. During today's webinar, Sevan Multi-Site Solutions will touch on key topics for quick service restaurant owners and managers who are exploring automated efficiency solutions, including the importance of automation in the quick service restaurant industry, current automation trends, future automation trends, realizing positive ROIs, and how Sevan adds value. Today you'll hear from Jacqueline Loftus, Director of Business Development, Shiron Olson, Vice President of Operations, and Brian Turner, Project Executive for Data Analytics, all with Sevan Multi-Site Solutions. I'd also like to point out a couple of things. First, this session is being recorded, and we will let you know when the recording is available. Second, we welcome any questions you might have, and you can use the functionality on the webinar console to submit a question at any time. You'll see it right below the slides. And now I'm pleased to turn it over to Jacqueline, Shiron, and Brian.
Thanks, Kara. So glad to be here. Thanks, everyone, for joining. As Kara said, I'm Director of Business Development at Sevan. I have over 25 years of industry experience and probably over 40 years of QSR consumer experience. Anyone in sales knows you live your life through drive-thrus and visiting all sorts of QSR restaurants all over the country. So excited to talk today about some new initiatives and automated processes and hope that everyone enjoys it. Excuse me. At Sevan, we operate as an extension of your team. Our motto is actually, we call it You Multiplied. Our mission here at Sevan is to be a trusted partner to our clients, helping you guys deploy their capital funds, their facility budgets, so you can deliver best-in-class to your customers while increasing ROI. We consider ourselves a program management firm deploying 7 different lines of business. And as you see on this slide, we have some examples of some QSRs that we currently work with. We also have more references to that are available after this webinar. But through our 7 lines of business, we are able to work with civil zoning and permitting through these programs, construction services, survey, and all of these lines of business through Sevan are in-house with our own W-2 employees, which is really great, especially when we start to get involved with different lines of business for clients and dependent upon their program. We have a technology and data analytics line of business where we focus on Smartsheet and helping you deploy your programs better from a platform. Real estate and development services, and architect and engineering. Again, all within program management, within Sevan with our own employees. We're going to talk more about how we can help you throughout this webinar at the end and how Sevan can jump in and be a partner for you guys. So throughout this webinar, you're going to learn more about reasons why we need to start focusing more on automated processes and how exactly to go about that. Anything in life that is repetitive or redundant, we need to start looking at ways to automate, not only to make things easier, but to help with any disruptions that come up. In the QSR world, automation plays a huge role and can equate not only to money saved, but also improving customer experiences, operational efficiencies, reduced human error, just to name a few. So when we look at increases in efficiency in the QSR sector, you kind of go right to shorter wait times, order accuracy, which relates back to reduced human error, and then employee productivity. Doing more with less. So maybe having your employees starting to focus on more value-added activities. And then, of course, your hardware and software needs. And that can relate to what technology are you using for your drive-through? Are you doing the maintenance? What kind of menu boards are you using? Have you gone to digital? And then again, what's most important to everyone is reducing costs while still keeping value to what you are delivering. So I'm going to hand this over to Shiron, and she's going to start going into some current trends that we're currently seeing. Shiron?
Yes, hello. Good morning and good afternoon. Thank you, Jacqueline. I am Shiron Olson, and I've been with Sevan since 2015, and as one of the Vice Presidents of Operations, I do have oversight over some of our QSR clients, and I'm excited to speak to you about what we're seeing in current trends going on in the marketplace, some considerations when we're integrating some of these concepts, and also briefly speak about some future automation that we're seeing that we think is going to become standard in the very near future. So first thing I want to speak about in current trends is digital menu boards. And so with digital menu board options, the benefits to digital menu boards is the ability to get real-time menu updates. So what that means in the market is as we have restaurant locations that has perhaps a transitioning menu throughout the day. Maybe there's a breakfast at one point, you need to segue over to a lunch or dinner menu. With digital menu boards, that becomes instantaneous. Or if there's a specific item that you want to advertise at a location, that can be pushed right to those digital menu boards. With the digital menu board concept, it does provide a more enticing and modern look. So as we're looking at improving the decor or even renovating locations, integrating the digital menu board to kind of put a finishing touch on a lot of the modernization we're seeing inside the restaurant space. The third bullet point there on becoming fully customizable, that's really an exciting option with the digital menu boards because there's the opportunity for some local, say, store or restaurant-specific advertising, as well as national advertising that can be, say, pushed to, say, one or two of those panels on the digital menu board space. And the ability to confirm orders on a digital menu board really trends toward the customer focus ability and to also look at what's trending in an area. So for example, if you really want to get some customized advertising into a specific market of what's trending in orders and what's new, that can be integrated in digital menu board capabilities. So when we speak about digital menu boards, typically we have what we call interior digital menu boards and outdoor digital menu boards, so internal or external. And when we look at interior, I have an item on there discussing the current layout review. So what that means is in a space where we may have the traditional menu boards today, we need to look at what does that layout look like today. So in an interior space, is the menu board location where it exists today in a good location? Is the placement optimal? What's the view into the kitchen from the customer vantage point? And by integrating digital, does that add to the look of the space or does it take away? So there may need to be some changes in the placement of the interior menu boards. Interior digital menu boards do have a depth to them because they're basically like a TV, if you can think of it that way. And so with that, there are depth considerations to take into account. You do have your workers at the location do need to have a safe place around lots of these locations. You need to make sure that that's staying in an optimal location for placement. And then you want to look at when customers are coming up to actually order at a cashier point, interior inside of the store, what makes the most sense for visibility. So those are some considerations for interior layout review. When we look at outdoor digital menu boards integrated with a drive-through, we need to take a long look at looking at optimizing that drive-through. So I'll speak to that a little bit in the presentation about additional considerations when integrating some of these new features. So for example, in an existing drive-through layout, if it's going to go to digital menu boards, is the digital menu boards only going to be at the order point, or do we need to have digital menu boards potentially available before the order point in a drive-through? And some brands are calling this preview boards. For example, if it's a new menu being presented or if it's a brand that's new to a market, some customers may need additional time to preview that menu before they get to the order point. So when we're looking at digital menu boards, perhaps there needs to be additional boards put into place versus what you have today. And then with digital menu boards, there is consideration about what you have existing for electrical in the space. You may need to expand the electrical out there, so that definitely does need to be considered. Another trend we are seeing in the market is the self-serve kiosks. And so we're seeing these in a number of brand locations. And what that provides in the self-serve kiosk market is got multiple indoor pay points. And so what this does is it really reduces the amount of space needed for queuing at the cashier area, because typically these spaces are getting smaller in many cases. And so being able to have a separate pay point in a separate location in a dining area is very beneficial. It also, as we're speaking about what's going on in the labor market, being able to reduce the cashier labor cost is significant. Second item on here, we have additional advertising and upselling options. What we're seeing as the self-serve kiosks has been in place in different restaurants, we're seeing a drive to the amount of store sales being increased, and actually the individual orders are being increased, because typically what the kiosks are able to do is prompt individuals. Do you want something else? Do you want a drink? Do you want a side? And so the data is definitely indicating towards an increase in in-store sales, and per item orders are definitely going up as these self-serve kiosks are going in place. Reducing wait times, you can see the visual to the right. Typically most kiosks are double-sided, so you can think about the wait time into a restaurant. If someone wants to go inside a restaurant and make a purchase, you actually have a much shorter wait time because you have significantly more order points. Layout considerations, I spoke about the layout considerations on the interior and external menu boards. We have similar considerations when we're looking at placing the self-serve kiosks in a restaurant space. We need to make sure that it looks they're immediately accessible versus an afterthought in a restaurant. So it really needs to become part of the layout of the space. When customers enter a restaurant space, we want to be able to have a consistent flow, and we want them to be able to see that self-serve kiosk, ideally even before they get to the cashier point. So that way that is the primary method of placing the orders. So we're not putting pressure on what's becoming a smaller number of cashier points. As self-serve kiosks are installed, we do need to consider ADA dimensions, maintaining ADA flow in a certain space, and then making sure that during those high peak, high volume periods, if customers do choose to order at a counter, we want to make sure that the queuing space, if it does happen for a self-serve kiosk, doesn't impede with the space for the traditional order point at the window. The next trend, which is a pretty exciting one to speak about, is the emergence in mobile apps. And the reason the mobile app emergence becomes important is because we're going to talk in some later slides about AI technology and mobile ordering. And so with AI and mobile ordering, a lot of that is being driven through the mobile apps. A key piece on here, we have proprietary and the third-party apps. Some of the proprietary apps, we have some brands have 100 million plus downloads. And so that's an amazing number to think about, and what's driving that. When one customer had 24 million downloads in their own app in 2021 alone. And so we can see the big presence of the mobile app, and so we ask, well, what's driving that, and why do the brands want to push customers towards downloading that mobile app? Well, a couple items, aside from I'm going to speak about mobile pickup options later, but looking at the ordering that's able to be done in the mobile apps, the drive where the customers want to be able to order online, they're able to do that through the mobile app. And geo-fencing opportunities, this ties into two things, able to have local advertising based on location. So when someone downloads the app, we know where they're located, and therefore can drive advertising specific to that customer. And then also there's the emergence in technology to start understanding when someone places an order through a mobile app, and because it's on their app, we know where the customer is, and the technology is coming out now where we know how many minutes someone is away from a location, And with that, gives adequate time for a kitchen to start prepping food. So when someone arrives on site, their food is hot on arrival. So that's pretty, exciting technology that's coming and emerging in the market. Through the mobile apps, you're building loyalty programs and customer data collection. So the customer data collection is really going to start tying into when I speak later about AI technology. And so with that AI technology, in order for artificial intelligence to work, we need to make sure that we have the basis set up where we can start collecting customer data. So what does that mean? So customer data means the customers, what do they order, when are they ordering, and then really building that knowledge of the customer. So when we move to more AI technology, we're able to know what that customer wants and start providing that customizable experience, which is just making the order process in a stronger customer focus. I talk about multiple pickup options. I'll speak on this a little bit later. When someone orders through the mobile app, it's typically in the current environment, multiple pickup options could mean someone orders on a phone, but they might be picking that up in the drive-through. They might be walking into the restaurant to pick up their mobile order, or there might be a spot located perhaps on the lot where they wait and they indicate that they've arrived. So that's just the many different options that we're seeing and how someone can order and receive food in a restaurant. Digital makeup lines and pickup stations. So a little bit for what this means is we can picture the scenarios where we have a restaurant where they still have a very high focus on preparing food in front of the customer. Customer comes in and they're watching the food prepared in front of them. So we can think of that example. And now we're talking about the emergence now of mobile ordering. And so now what does that do to the traditional makeup line? So now we have an issue where orders are coming in mobile, and how do we address need to maintain the flow of current customer traffic through a makeup line. So what's being done now, or the idea that we are trending towards separate, call them digital makeup lines. So what that means, we're actually creating a completely separate kitchen makeup line, fully dedicated to the mobile order, online order, anything other than a customer coming up to request orders. So what this does, it provides the additional working space, better organization. You can accommodate significantly more orders, and with the customer focus, we're not really damaging the situation with the customers coming in for the traditional setup. So one area here, the separate pickup areas for in-person and mobile customers, this is becoming key, and we're seeing it in our layouts that has to have good consideration is where we have these digital makeup lines, where are we going to place the pickup area for the foods and the customer, whether that's the DoorDash, the third-party source. We could either have something like racks located. We're looking in some areas where some restaurants are doing dedicated locked food lockers. So some concepts like that have to be thought out as we're putting the makeup lines in place. So this is showing the trend a little bit between where we were, just in 2018. Let's call this the pre-COVID time period a little bit if those of us familiar with it, versus what the trends we're seeing now. And this is asking a question, where is the order taking place now versus where it was in, say, 2018? And so what we're seeing is that if we can look, we see some trends that are continuing. So we're seeing a strong growth in the online order, and then the in-restaurant continues to shrink. So the in-restaurant is a traditional coming into a restaurant space and placing the order. And so while it looks like the drive-through is decreasing, again, I go back to this is where the initial order is taking place. We are still seeing online orders where the pickup point is still through the drive-through. So I do want to mention that, because throughout this time period, we are continuing to still see the trend toward drive-through automation. And so I think what really spurred this on is I try not to mention COVID too many times, but I do mention the impact it had in the restaurant space. And so there were some brands that were already optimized with some drive-through layouts and maybe some mobile orders. And so really the what happened in COVID with the restaurant, with the in-store dining having to shut down, we really saw the lean in on those areas where we could lean into. Where is the drive-through already optimized? Where is the mobile ordering already optimized? So that really can think about kicking everything into high gear. So even now we're looking at some of the trends going on now as really continuing on that trend that was put into place. And so if we're seeing this growth in the online space of where the orders are being placed online, I'll go back to the point we talk about where it's, we need to really consider in the restaurant space what makes the most sense of where those orders need to be picked up. So whether that's a dedicated space I mentioned, if that's a locked space. I know there are some brands that worry about maybe some security issues with that or some theft. And what we're seeing actually is that is a very small chance that that happens. But in that event, there are call it like the locked food lockers. Think of the Amazon space a little bit where there's you go and there's the number and you pick up your item that was ordered on Amazon. We're seeing that emerge as an option in this, the mobile order pickup space as well. So as we're looking at the trend to really needing to optimize that drive-throughs, we'll discuss that in the future on some future slides coming up. Some interesting stats, kind of summarizing a little bit about what we were seeing in the previous trends and some available data. So online food ordering growing 300% faster than the dine-in and accounting for roughly a third of the total restaurant sales. I mentioned this is sort of what we saw happening with some trends that happened during the in-store restaurant shutdown and just everyone just wanting everything instantaneous and quicker. The stat I spoke about earlier, the self-serve kiosk, that does have a statistic showing that it can increase average check size by nearly 20%. And we're seeing that through the prompts that are coming up in those self-serve kiosks, maybe prompting customers asking if they want to add something else to their order. So that's generally why we're seeing the uptick. Restaurants with online ordering systems, 30% higher takeout profits than those do not. So here we're talking about the profits because you have online ordering. It means not only are we seeing the average check size go up, but also with the online ordering system, you're also having a lower labor cost, which is driving also the increased profitability. And right now, around a third of Americans use third-party food delivery at least twice a week, and average household spending $2,300 annually on dining and takeout purchases. So that was about where we're seeing now, and I'm going to go a little bit now stepping into where the future is going. So we talked about how the orders can get faster, and what's exciting now is we're looking into the future trends for actually food preparation, taking step with that and also being prepared faster and in a more efficient method. So I'll speak a little bit about what we're seeing in the AI technology and some robotic assistants. And then Brian Turner, who is also on our Sevan team, is going to be speaking about the cloud-based point of sale as some of the future automation. So artificial intelligence is going to provide some enhanced menu recommendations and ordering, kind of the ability for artificial intelligence to learn. And robotic assistants are starting to be an area where we see them in more of the, we'll call it the traditional restaurant space, but we're definitely starting to see opportunities where we're seeing that in now the food prep and some tasks that can actually be given to robotic assistants versus traditional labor. So artificial intelligence, technology that learns and adapts. So what that means by learning and adapting is we're in a time period now where the technology exists today where the artificial intelligence put in place at QSRs or other spaces have the ability to quote unquote learn. So what does learn mean? Learning means that whether it be different accents, different dialects coming up as a customers, the AI technology has the ability to consistently learn and improve, which is really an exciting time versus where AI technology perhaps used to be maybe, even 2-3 years ago. And so with that, some applications that are being looked at today for the way they can be applied to the QSR, you'll see the graphic on the drive-through. And so I spoke earlier about why we need to continue to make sure that we keep an eye on drive-through optimization for some of the things I'm going to speak about coming up here. So facial recognition, first I put the caveat to be tested. There are obviously a lot of questions about this, potential privacy impact. Does this mean a customer we would expect might have to have some sort of privacy notice letting them have that technology? We don't expect that to be automatic at every restaurant. So more to come on how that's going to evolve over time. But the license plate recognition we've seen in some other applications outside of QSR, and that's coming into the space. And if the license plate recognition means assuming that customer's always driving that vehicle, and we talk about building the loyalty in that mobile app and the customer experience. So in line with the customer experience, you're really building the recognition of understanding who that customer is, and so they can be prompted when it comes to order, what do you want today? Do you want the same thing you wanted previously? And gives them some prompts. There's just some exciting things going on. So the mobile app integration is important, also making some of those menu suggestions. And then there is the ability to push notifications for local advertising. Talked earlier about the what's trending. So really starting to build upon that strong customer base. So what is benefits of AI? So there's an obvious upfront investment that needs to be made with AI into the restaurant space. And in the restaurant space, there's the initial investment, and then there's typically a monthly fee. And so with that does have to be balanced. Well, if that's the cost, what's the benefits? So I mentioned earlier, we have the statistics showing that we're seeing a 30% increase in same-store sales. And then we speak from that statistic, that speaks about AI either in a mobile app or even a phone interface, meaning we still have there's some restaurant spaces out there that do have the call-in orders on the phone, and we're seeing that the increase also happening in that, and 25% in order size. Alleviate staffing shortages. Currently, in the current environment, we know that's a significant issue right now with labor shortages. So not only can we get the labor, but what's the cost of the labor? And so with that, the ability to turn the AI on and off. So if you're having an issue with labor coming in, you can actually turn it off at a certain point if you need to. And then we're seeing an overall reduction in the labor hours. Next, moving on to what we're seeing is the robotic assistants. So robotic assistants, we're looking for the ability to handle simple, repetitive tasks. So this might not be every task in the restaurant, but what are some tasks going on that we can easily shift to robotic methods? And with that, needing to evaluate the cost, the labor, and the risk. And I mention the risk because there are some scenarios where we might be much safer having a robotic assistant perform something versus traditional labor. So some applications being tested right now, we have the ability to flip burgers, ability to fry, some fountain drink and coffee monitoring. These are all applications that are taking place today with the consistent plan right now to continue to look at what every task that's taking place in the make line and what's the ability to shift that to more robotic away from what's becoming a more expensive labor pool in the market today. Robotic food running applications, this is still evolving and seeing where we can apply in the QSR space. So I mentioned this when we think back to the time period the COVID with the cleaning that needed to be done typically in the restaurant spaces. At that time, there were actually options for restaurants to have what we call robotic cleaners. And with those robotic cleaners, what they were doing is having the ability to disinfect a space at a set time and duration. So that's a great example that we can think of with the robotic assistants. So see the robots, you see this picture here, this looks like something out of traditional restaurant space, but we just have to ask the question, it might where can it lend itself potentially in the QSR space. So some ideas of why we want to look at doing this is we do have increased efficiency and productivity by trending toward the robotic assistants. It lets the restaurant staff become more productive. They can focus on other operational issues. They can focus on the customer if we can take the repetitive tasks into a different situation. And then they perform dangerous tasks. I mentioned we really, in an ideal world, it'd be great to take, if there anything that could be dangerous or frying hot foods, being able to remove that and move that to a robotic assistant is something exciting in the future. The continued need to eliminate staffing issues. Eliminate might be a hard one in our current space, but definitely needing to mitigate that with the benefit of robotic assistants. Low operational costs, once they're in place, there are statistics that indicate they can operate as little as $8 a day. We do have some information on this at the end. We're going to be presenting, I think, some follow-up information that can provide some background to this information. So thank you for letting me speak to you a little about kind of the current trends and some future trends. I'm going to hand it off to Brian Turner on our team, and he's going to speak to what the trends we're seeing in cloud-based POS. So thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Shiron. Thanks, everybody, for attending. My name is Brian Turner, and I've only been with Sevan a short time, a little over 6 months, but come from an operational background in the industrial security space. And basically, I just have a passion for technology and process automation, which led me to some exciting opportunities at Sevan. So when you're looking at the point of sale, the cloud-based point of sale option, and pardon me, let me go back and double tap there. This is probably the most prevalent place where we see interaction between the customer and the technology right now. People are becoming more and more interactive with the kiosks and the different ordering options, and they're becoming more and more accustomed to having things tracked and having profiles created around their spending habits, their user habits, and those kinds of things. And that can actually give a great payback to the organization and the overall operation. So when you think about cloud-based point of sale, these are replacing these clunky legacy systems that have often been around a long time. And some of the challenges there are, those have limitations. There's hardware limitations. You have to physically replace hardware when things go wrong and things of that nature. So cloud-based point of sale, that industry is kind of becoming a one-stop shop to where you can interact with the customer. You can walk them through the whole customer experience. You can increase the ROI, as Shiron pointed out. And then you also get a tremendous amount of analytics coming out of the other side of it. So you can see in real time, you can track sales, you can track the customer profiles, and you can measure, did we upsell, what percentage of orders, did they upsell on. It can interact with your financials, and it can even be tracked back to inventory management and other core business functions, just because all of this is in the cloud, all of the metadata is available. You can make a lot of analytical comparisons between A and B. And again, that leads to the fact that it's in the cloud leads to scalability. So you don't have to have, when you want to grow, you don't have to get in a server rack, and you don't have to come in there and replace a big piece of hardware that's expensive, that requires a technician to come in and interrupt your day or turn something off for a period of time. These systems that operate in the cloud, they grow with you. It's often a subscription-based system. You say, okay, well, I have X number of point-of-sale terminals. Those can very easily be added and scaled on site or across your enterprise. And then all of the functionality that goes along with it is just intact to the system. So there's, whether you have one point-of-sale terminal or 1,000 point-of-sale terminals, the data all aggregates in the cloud and can be analyzed and pushed to dashboards and things like that to track your key metrics. So as Shiron was saying, a lot of this technology is actually less expensive over your legacy cost, and that's sometimes a combination of the upfront cost and then the ongoing service costs. With the legacy systems, a lot of times those service contracts are expensive. There are delays that are incurred as things are getting repaired, where in the cloud-based software, a lot of times the updates just flow, just like it would, an app on your phone. And any kind of service problems or disruptions can be mitigated quite quickly and sort of over the air without having to disrupt your operation. And one of the things that, one of the big benefits is the overall point of sale process and the interaction that you have with the customer. It actually reduces time at the table. So you're able to turn tables faster, and the customers don't have to, sort of struggle through the ordering process. You're able to turn more tables and turn those tables faster. A quick overview. This is just some stats around the legacy versus the cloud-based options. Again, these are general industry stats, and like Shiron was saying, there'll be some follow-up documentation where you can go and read the background articles and the research that led to these conclusions. But I believe we've touched on just about all of those, but we just wanted you to have a snapshot of where that all stands. Excellent. Now I'm going to pass it back to Shiron, and she's going to talk about how you get going down the road toward evaluating your technology needs.
Actually, Jacqueline, that's Shiron. We're going to give her a little bit of a break, but no worries.
Brian. Oh, well, good for Shiron. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. The picture in the corner is small, so I get it. No worries. Thanks, Brian and Shiron. So far, everything sounds really great. So steps to evaluate advanced. Oh, someone is moving my screen. There we go. Steps to evaluate advanced technology for your business. So this is more of a next step to start talking to someone about these programs and these initiatives for your businesses. Know your current situation and plan for the future. And then obviously number 2, identify a partner who can provide and install the technology. So obviously at Sevan, we can help you with any of your programs, especially QSR initiatives for automated processes. But definitely happy to talk to anyone on here who's interested in more information on getting started with this and looking at, 2023 is around the corner. So I'm sure everyone has a bunch of initiatives. We talked about digital menu boards, preview boards. So happy to help in any of those instances. Utilizing a program management firm to lay out and manage the project. A lot of these projects will utilize labor, and you might not have the labor in place to help roll out these projects. And, at Sevan or other project management or program management firms, we can help, again, going back to our model, we call it multiplied. We can help establish the program, the process, and we really focus on safety, speed, and scale. So if you're looking to get a project deployed at the beginning, first, second quarter of 2023, you're going to want to choose a firm who can make sure that they can get that done on time and on budget. Number 4 was conduct site surveys to understand your restaurant layout and the conditions of your assets. If you have site plans already, great. If you know exactly the conditions of every one of your restaurants, then even better. If not, surveys can come in and take a look at what's there. We can do 3D virtual tours of your restaurants, depending on what you're looking to deploy for your program or project. We put a note here, site plans may need to be adjusted and assets may need to be upgraded to support whatever the initiative that you're looking to do, whether it be self-checkout kiosk that you want to add, a second lane drive-through, a remodel to make room for what Shiron was talking about for the pickup of the app or mobile orders. Number 5, finalize design plans and acquire the proper permits and entitlements to begin construction. As you all probably already know, this could be a real pain point or a holdup for any program. So make sure that you are integrated with a program management company that knows the permitting process, knows what needs to be done, and can set expectations to proper timelines. That's really, really important. You do not want to have a program on hold because proper permits weren't pulled, or you didn't know the process that was required for a second lane drive-through, or a preview menu board that you want to install. And then number 6, complete construction and punch list for proper operation turnover. So this is where Sevan can help out if you don't have enough labor to have project managers visiting these sites. We can come in and help and get to the sites that you might not have boots on the ground to make sure that we ensure a proper turnover for the program and that the punch list is complete. Go to the next slide. 24/7, basically this is just reiterating that, we are here for you. Our business is making it easier for our customers. And again, just leaning on us for any program that you need our help with. How can Sevan help? Perfect segue. As I kind of talked about at the beginning, we're a program management firm that offers those 7 lines of businesses that I did a high-level overview. But throughout our history, we've managed thousands of restaurant development and remodel programs for several clients, in the QSR sector especially. We have the expertise to help with any stage of this project. And what that means is that if you have an architect that you're already using, but you really need help in permitting and survey, we are there to help. We don't need to be involved from the beginning to end. We absolutely can be and are happy to, but we also know that there's clients out there who have certain lines already covered, right? So initial survey for your condition assessment, we do that all in-house. All of our surveyors are W-2 employees and all live across the United States. So where that comes in is speed, right? We can get surveyors out to your site a lot faster, and we can kind of control the schedule since they do work for Sevan Direct. Deliverables for condition assessments, we turn around really, really quickly, which then can get a project rolling and not being held up. Concept plan layout, final plans and cost estimates. At Sevan, we can be your GC and hold the papers, or we can help manage the GCs for these certain programs. Contract and vendor bidding and analysis. We have a wonderful, wonderful group of contractors who have been working with us and have proven themselves. And, we pride ourselves in saying that it's really hard to get on our vendor list, but very easy to get off. So if you're looking for, a certain region that you just haven't had really good luck in, that's something that you can reach out to us and we can definitely assist in. And then again, I already touched on permitting, but we have very skilled and knowledgeable permitting team members at Sevan who we've been very successful in helping a lot of our clients just move through that process faster and just setting proper expectations up. And then construction management and commissioning. Anything from finding the dirt to build a building all the way to running that GC that you might have had or running a GC that we hire for you and getting those doors open faster and that program completed on time and on budget. I'm going to pass it back to Brian because it's your picture in the lower left corner. So all you, Brian.
Thank you, Jacqueline, and thanks for the tip on the slide transitions. As Jacqueline said, we are a full scope construction services and program management firm, and that positions us in a unique way to come alongside you wherever you may be on the journey, regardless of scope or duration. Another thing that we've done very well is we've made a tremendous investment in technology. And our technology and data analytics team not only supports our internal project management teams and the functional areas within Sevan, but we recognize that this was an additional service that we could provide to other partners in the industry and even other industries outside of the construction space. So what we do is we leverage a very powerful piece of software called Smartsheet, and we're a Smartsheet Platinum partner. So we're able to resell and service their clients and our clients using this tool. And it's basically a no-code project management tool with a great deal of functionality to it. So it's very easy to navigate. It's very easy to tailor it to your environment and to aggregate data from multiple data sources like a cloud-based POS or an inventory management system or your financials, your payroll, all of those things. So we can aggregate your data into these complex operational dashboards, and that allows us to give you line of sight into real-time data to allow you to make better decisions. So not only are we helping you manage your projects and providing you a streamlined project management solution that has consistent governance from site to site, from project to project, but we're able to get into your process and your workflow automations on the business side as well. These are just some of the services that we provide using the Smartsheet platform: custom program dashboards, project dashboards, all of the metrics and KPIs that you can imagine. So imagine a database where all of this metadata, all of your project data, your operational data, your financials are all coming into one spot. We're able to make those A to B comparisons that are important to you. So when you think about the metrics that drive your decision-making every day, we can reverse engineer that and find ways to visually depict your data onto dashboards and reports that really inform your constituent stakeholders on what's in their lane today, what things are at risk, what items need to be escalated for maybe an additional set of eyes to be put on them. Here's an example of just one of the dashboards and one of the ways we project this data. So what you're looking at is just a basic project schedule, and you can see, tracking tasks by stages. We can track overdue or out of balance conditions. So if something's over time or over budget, or maybe even as you're building out your workflow, you realize, for some reason zoning and permitting in this space or in this region is a little bit more difficult to pass through. So we want to give everybody a heads up that X, Y, and Z is due. Maybe we want to tell them a week in advance. We can set all of those automations and triggers and control that communication for you within the tool to where all of your things are happening. Everybody's getting the lead time and the heads up that they need to deliver a task on time and on budget. We like to think of it as a way of just kind of getting you out of the weeds and decluttering your day. We don't want an engineer or a highly skilled person to spend 60% of their day in their inbox, being the traffic cop, when really we can develop processes and automations that keep everybody marching to the beat of the same drum and prevent some of the common choke points and stagnation points where somebody goes out on PTO and something sits on a desk for a week when it really shouldn't have. We can push that workflow to where those disruptions are somewhat mitigated. Another view of a dashboard, this is a little bit more data intensive, where we can import reports directly from a given site, or in this case, the aggregated accumulation of data from multiple sites, and we can depict that in any way you wish. One of the things about the way we've evolved, we have a lot of high-end multi-site retail use cases where people are used to advanced analytics, and they push us and they ask, well, why can't I see A, B, and C all compared in one visual? So we've actually gotten a lot of experience in meeting those needs and depicting sort of elegant analytical data in easily digestible ways. And we're always innovating and trying to figure out different ways to present that data in concise and meaningful ways. So now I'm going to pass it back to Jacqueline to talk about the strength of Sevan.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Just to be conscious of time, I know we have some questions to do too, but just to reiterate, please reach out to Sevan and myself and the team, and we're happy to meet with you and discuss any of the lines of business and any of the initiatives that you guys have coming up for 2023 regarding any of the items we talked about today and anything else that you guys see, you know, for 2023 that's important to you guys and as far as your program. So, Kara, I'll pass it on, and we can start with the Q&A. But thanks again, everyone, for all of your time.
Great. Thank you, Jacqueline, and thanks, everyone. We will indeed now turn to our questions. First of all, will any of the current automation trends become obsolete when some of the future tech starts being integrated into restaurants?
Thank you, Kara. So I can take the answer to this question. So throughout the presentation, I tried to lean heavy on some explanations that as we're seeing the current and future trends, we're having to take a look at what is currently in place now. And we do not expect the current trends to really become obsolete, but rather to become the building blocks for what comes in the future. So for example, we talked about the current trends toward the mobile apps and the mobile ordering. Well, the future technology is really leaning on the ability to have that current automation in place. So I really don't see them becoming obsolete. They might look and feel a little different, but I think we need to think of the current trends as really the building blocks in order to layer the future technology on top of it.
Absolutely. Next question, will there be robotic technology available for different types of QSRs?
That's mine again, so I'll take this one. So
sure.
So no problem. So we're looking at some examples we talked in the presentation about, you know, the burgers and the fries, and kind of looking at that sort of the hamburgers and fries sort of typical restaurant space. But as we're looking at the other applications, like at quick serve restaurants, whether it's sandwiches, pizzas, alcoholic drinks, non-alcoholic drinks, typically in QSRs, it would be the non-alcoholic drinks. However, you never know in some markets. And so with that, we're just looking at any different avenue it can be applied to. As I mentioned, we're really breaking down the preparation of what are all the different steps in the food preparation process. And of each one of those steps, if we can just take out one of those and convert that to a more robotic technology and reduce the labor costs, it's definitely something that's being thought of at the moment.
Okay, great. And next, if space is limited in our restaurants, does it make sense to install self-serve kiosks?
I'll take that for the kiosk layout question. So space is limited, does it make sense? So if I heard it, so if space is limited, do we still want to look at installing the self-serve kiosks? Yes, but with the consideration that we spoke about earlier, making sure that we'd like to put them in place, but if by doing that we completely impede the flow, we need to consider that. So they do need to be laid out, you know, in conjunction with the rest of the restaurant space. And so I guess every site's a little different. I know that Jacqueline talked about the ability to survey locations. That's where that becomes critical. We don't want to put an automation trend in just because it's new. Or I mentioned we don't want to be like an afterthought. So it does need to be considered and integrated into the space.
Right. And we have time for one more question. Does Sevan have anyone they would recommend we talk to about any of the technology options that were presented today?
Well, that would be me, the salesperson. No, but, you know, we've had several of our QSR clients, we've helped them with digital menu boards, with self-serve kiosks, and obviously the mobile ordering stations for any remodel or new build program. But a lot of the future automation technologies that Shiron touched on, some of it's still in the prototyping and test phases. So there aren't really go-to-market strategies right now that we can work through. But that being said, selecting the right program or vendor to supply the equipment and software is based on so many different factors, including the size of the program, the technology infrastructure that you already have set in place, your company processes, and obviously budget. We work with all of our clients to determine all that information up front and help create a solution to choose the right vendor and the right equipment to oversee, the project from start to finish. So yes, we do have all of those people in place, and again, like I mentioned, happy to help and reach out, and we'll start talking about that program with you.
Fantastic. Well, that's all of the time we have today, so we'll call this a wrap. Many thanks to Sevan Multi-Site Solutions for making this program possible, to our audience for attending, and of course to Jacqueline, Shiron, and Brian for sharing their insights. As mentioned, the program was recorded, and you'll receive an email letting you know when that recording is available. So thanks again, and have a great day.
Thank you.